We have a big question today. Should you buy a cookware set?
At the Test Kitchen, we've always said that it's better to skip sets and buy pans one by one as you need them. You save money and space and only get the pans you need most.
But people ask us anyway about cookware sets. We know they can make great gifts for weddings and graduations, or when you want to upgrade all your cookware in one fell swoop.
Totally. So, are there any cookware sets worth buying? We decided to investigate. So, why don't we usually recommend cookware sets? They present a few problems. For one thing, the number of pieces they claim in the set is usually misleading and a bit inflated.
Let's look at this one. Yeah, so in the world of cookware sets, everything in the box counts as a piece. This is a supposedly 15-piece cookware set.
Okay.
The first 6 pieces are utensils. This is not cookware, people.
But it sure pumps up those numbers. And much less expensively, because those aren't made of metal.
Yeah, no, they're plastic and they're all pretty cheap. This is 6 pieces of utensils you probably already own, and they're not cookware. It's not a 15-piece cookware set. And so this is the kind of thing you get, like big number of pieces, tiny number for dollars, and then you get all this junk. So this is another thing you get with these oddball pans that are not essential. If you don't need them, they're not a bargain. So this is some kind of griddle pan.
It's like a small griddle, low-sided skillet.
You get
for
a lot
pancakes,
of right. You get a lot of little doll pans. So this is like a little 8-inch skillet.
I gotta say, I love my 8-inch skillet.
Sure, but if this is your main skillet, you're going to be a little cramped.
Is that? No, that's not the only skillet in here, is it?
Well, let's find out.
It is!
Oh my God.
I
Okay.
think.
Then there's some lids in here. Lids count as pieces. So we got some lids. We got a lot of lids. They're giving us lids. Everything has a lid.
Aww.
So that's 1, 2, 3 plus 6. So 6 pans is what you're getting, not 15 pieces of cookware. So now we have another little doll pan. This is
That's like fine for melting butter.
Right,
Okay.
right. It's a
One
little bitty
butter
pan.
pan.
A slightly bigger saucepan. Yay, we're getting there.
Maybe a box of mac and cheese.
This is some kind of weird hybrid saute
Like
pan.
huevos rancheros for 2 people.
Yeah, maybe.
Very specific uses for these.
And there's little bitty stock pot.
Oh, pasta for one.
You cannot even cook pasta in here. I mean, spaghetti isn't going to fit.
No.
If you try to do a whole pound of pasta in here.
Ditalini for one.
And here's the other thing. They're all super duper lightweight, tinny, cheapy, and every single piece is coated with nonstick. And what we know about nonstick is its lifespan is, a couple of years.
At best.
And then
if you're
all
lucky.
this goes to the landfill. And you have spent money on your 15-piece cookware set that is actually 6 pans, and none of them are going to last.
I mean, also the nonstick coating on a pasta pot, like what are we doing there? We don't
What is that for?
We don't need it. It's not even necessary. And if it's traditional nonstick made with PTFE, there are health and safety concerns. They emit fumes if you use them with high heat and shed microplastics.
Finally, sets seem like a bargain. And yes, you can save money by buying a cookware set. When we compared the prices of sets to the prices of the individual pieces in it, on average we saved about 20% per set. And with pricier sets, that savings could be hundreds of dollars. But savings don't mean much if you're not going to use all the pieces, if you lack storage space, or you lack the budget for a good set.
Bottom line, many cookware sets are not worth it. But we wanted to find one we could recommend.
So let's get into it. So now you know what we don't want in a cookware set. Here's what we do.
After many years of testing cookware, we decided to focus only on sets made of fully clad stainless steel. That means every pan is made of 3 or more layers of stainless steel and aluminum bonded together with the steel sandwiched around the aluminum. And this extends rim to rim, not just on the bottom. Don't buy pans with what are called encapsulated or clad bottoms. The layers are only on the bottom of these cheaper, thinner pans.
Yeah, basically what they do is they take only 1 layer of stainless steel, and then on the bottom you'll see this line across the bottom, and what that means is that they take a little plate, it looks like a pie plate of stainless steel, fill it with cast aluminum and stick it just on the bottom. What happens is those heat up very slowly because they're really thick, and so then you turn up the heat, and then they acquire heat and they hang on to it, and everything's burning, and basically anything around the edge here, which is just 1 layer of stainless steel, starts to burn. So you have burned edges, crazy hot, cold bottom, and this is also really prone to falling off with thermal shock and impact.
So that seam is a telltale sign.
It's a tell, yeah. If you get a fully clad pan, that means the whole pan is made of the 3 layers of, or 5 layers, or sometimes 7 layers of steel, aluminum, maybe copper in the middle. You may have other things in between depending on the pan. They may call it 5-ply, 3-ply, 7-ply. They might call it fully clad. Those are the words you're kind of looking for. We always get asked, is 5-ply better than 3? Is 7 better than 5? In our experience, more layers, more ply really it's not great, because sometimes that either means the pan is very heavy, and really heavy cookware is kind of discouraging to use, or they made those layers so darn thin that the 3-layer pans are thicker than a 5-layer pan, and we found that in one of the sets here. It doesn't mean it's thicker. It might mean that they just used less metal, but they did more layers and they pressed them down.
You would think with all the marketing around the numbers of ply that would really indicate better performance.
Right, that more is more.
Yeah.
It's not. You know, really a lot of other factors matter. What does matter is that you're looking for fully clad, not just a clad bottom. From our years of testing, we also know that fully clad cookware construction is tough, it's durable, and it cooks more evenly without hot spots. And that's because the aluminum and steel work together to transmit and store heat more effectively than either material on its own.
Aw,
Yeah,
sweet.
together they're better. Now, because stainless steel is on the surface layers, these pans won't rust or react with acidic food, and there's no coating to wear away. There's almost no maintenance, and they can last a lifetime.
Once we had the material picked out, we looked for sets that had a good selection of useful sizes, hoping to find larger 10 and 12-inch skillets, which we love, 2 and 3-quart saucepans, and a stock pot of 6 to 8 quarts, a big one.
So, every one of our cookware sets in our lineup is made of these materials, and we were looking for those sizes. Let's see how close we got.
We narrowed our lineup down to 6 sets.
Most had 2 skillets, 2 saucepans, a saute pan, and a stock pot.
And we tested each kind of pan, like all of the skillets, against its counterpart across sets. And we compared them to our winning pan in each category. We cooked a lot of food.
A lot. We browned butter in the small skillets, and we made pan-roasted asparagus and skillet-roasted chicken in lemon sauce in the large skillets. We mashed potatoes in the large saucepans, and we made pickled jalapenos in the small ones.
And the Swedish meatballs. There were dozens and dozens of Swedish meatballs in the saute pans. The stock pots, we did beef stew and angel hair pasta. We considered during each test how the pan cooked and how it was to handle and use.
Yeah, and after each test, we hand washed them to see how easily they cleaned up. And then we tested the skillets for durability. We heated them up, we plunged them into ice water, and then we whacked them 3 times on a concrete block. Now, all of the skillets did survive this extreme testing, but some were definitely more dented than others. And one skillet sadly kind of warped a little bit from that thermal shock.
Oh, poor fella.
Yeah.
We also looked at the skillets with an infrared camera to see how evenly they heated.
Here's where their fully clad construction paid off, because that bonded steel plus aluminum meant they all heated very evenly.
Right, and you don't need an infrared camera to see that gorgeous golden crust you get with these pans.
Definitely.
We learned in testing that we preferred pans with functional open pan shapes, with wide cooking surfaces that helped us spread out food to see what we were cooking and get all that delicious browning.
That's right. Like, look at these 2 pans. These are both 10-inch pans in 2 different sets.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. And as you can see, you know, they measure pans rim to rim, not down the bottom. So even though these are both the 10-inch pans of these cooking sets, one is clearly much bigger than the other one.
It's going to be a totally different cooking experience.
Right. What we're looking for is a nice broad cooking surface right here. This flat part is what's contacting the heat, and it's browning your food. If your pan is too much like a bowl, everything is crowded to the middle. There's not enough hot surface, really directly hot surface, that's going to brown that food. So you get much less capacity in this pan in this shape. And you're much more likely to get steaming and bubbly browning, bubbly like gray.
Gray, yeah.
Gray meat, yeah. bubbly gray meat rather than golden brown and crisp. Whereas with something like this, there's room for the steam to evaporate and for the browning to happen that you really want. So that was a big factor with skillets and with saucepans. Some of them are kind of narrow, some are wider. All of these pans, we wanted a nice wide open shape so we could see what was going on, reach in with utensils, and really cook the food.
All right, what about handles? What did we learn there?
Oh yeah, lots of things. First of all, we wanted steel handles, all steel handles, because steel does not conduct heat quickly. It holds heat once it gets it, but it doesn't conduct it quickly. Aluminum conducts quickly. So when you have a pan handle that instantly gets red hot, it's probably aluminum. A steel handle will stay a little bit cooler on the stovetop. And the way it's shaped and the way it contacts the pan does affect how hot they get. You may get a little bit of heat coming up that pan, and then you're trying to hold it way back here. So this part may be getting too hot on some of these, and we had to hold way in the back. You know, we had people with bigger hands trying to cook, and they said, gee, you know, by the time I can hold the part that isn't too hot,
They're just like
I'm way
clinging
down
on the
here,
edge.
like clinging onto the end. Not good. So you really want a longer handle, and you want one that's going to stay a little cooler, and an all steel handle will help with that.
Cool makes sense, but the shape really blew my mind, because for me, just looking at this looks smooth and comfortable and secure. This, it's counterintuitive. Talk to me a little bit about that.
If you have a very comfy handle, it's great in the store or when you first unbox it. But when you're lifting that pan up, say you've cooked something and I'm going to lift this up with my non-dominant hand and I'm going to be scraping it out, and it's probably hot, and I probably at this point need a pot holder. A lot of times, and I did find this in testing, there I am taking food out and the pan is spinning in my hand. And it's threatening to dump all that food. I'm trying not to, I can't grab this side, it's hot. You know, it's trying to get away from me, especially if it's greasy. That's where it's really gonna be dangerous even to have such a smooth, comfy handle. Something like this handle, this is on All-Clad. They have sort of a famously uncomfortable handle. You know, it's kind of cupped. And these edges are not particularly, they're a little more rounded than they used to be. All-Clad does here, people, I think. But, you know, they're still got a shape where when you grab this, your fingertips go right into that hole. The rest of it gets right on your hand. It's not going anywhere. It can't rotate. It stays right where you're holding it.
Also, capacity was a big thing, right?
Right.
So we have this over here, which this does not feel like a stock pot or a Dutch oven to me. We preferred 8-quart stock pot / Dutch ovens.
Yeah.
This is what?
5.
5, and this was the biggest pot in that set.
Yeah, this was the biggest pot. You know, again, they're trying to shave off a couple dollars by making smaller pans in these sets. This is the worst example. It's 5 quarts. Now, when we make pasta, for instance, we put 4 quarts of water, we get that boiling, and then we throw in a pound of pasta. Now, when they're saying 5 quarts, that's as if you fill it right up to this rim. That's 5.
Level across the top.
So if you're putting 4 quarts of water in there, you've got like a, you know, the water's come right up to the top. You're not getting a pound of pasta in there. If I were making a full-size stew or soup, this is a little on the small side. And the bottom of this pan is a little narrower than a larger pan. So if you're doing something like where you're browning some cubes of beef to make a stew, more batches, more time, more opportunities for that bottom to get burned and have a burnt taste.
This happened in Dutch oven testing, I remember. And the difference between like 3 batches of browning for a beef stew versus 2 is like 15 minutes. It's a solid amount of time that you're slowed down, and yeah, it just does really get scorched on at the end there.
Yeah, and once that scorched taste is in there, it's going to be in your stew.
Weight was another thing, right?
Yeah. Okay, so pick up that guy. I lifted that up empty. It's something like 8 pounds. I mean, you just, oof, if you want a little upper body workout, buy this pan. But but then picture that almost full of boiling water, and you're carrying that.
This is heavy empty.
Yes. Boiling water and pasta in there, and you're carrying it to the sink, and you're trying not to like dump that on yourself. Again, anybody with diminished strength.
Oh, it would be a non-starter.
Yeah. So it's nice to have sturdy cookware, but you can go a little far.
It's nice to dial in those finer points, so you want to cook more. Speaking of a not so fine point, durability.
Yes. So, with each of the skillets, to really look at its durability, skillets do not get babied. They really get thrown around in the kitchen. They're hot, they're cold, you throw them around, you're tossing food, whatever you're doing, they're usually the most kind of beat up pan in the kitchen, right? So we kind of simulated that to really get at which ones were going to be lasting longer.
Lisa takes out all her rage.
Yeah, it's kind of satisfying.
That's why she's so calm now.
Yes. So anyway, we heated all the pans to the skillets. We took the large skillet from each set. We heated it to 500 degrees and then plunged it in ice water. And now, this is something you should not do at home. Don't take your hot pan off the stove and put it under the tap. And yes, you get dramatic jets of steam and sizzling, and it is so bad. It's thermally shocking that metal. That sheet of metal is going to want to warp. The cold parts and the hot parts are going to expand and contract at radically different rates very quickly, and that's when you get warping.
And you actually saw that in testing, even though these are all fully clad, right? Is that right?
Yeah, one of the pans sadly warped by the end of testing, and just a little bit, but when you have an induction stove or a glass top electric where the surface is very flat and you really need full contact of that pan, any warping is bad. And also, then we took it and whacked it on the edge of a concrete block. And that, while satisfying, is also telling us something about the structure and, the way this pan is built and whether it's strong. And in some of these pans, you can barely see tiny dents. In others, you can see big dents. So these pans went through the same testing. This one is super dented, and this one did not really dent much. You really have to turn it. I hit it with the same amount of force, as much as I possibly could, being a human. And you can really see a difference in this one, you wouldn't even necessarily think anything happened here. You're just looking and, okay, there's a dent. I mean, I know this is the pan I tested, but it's pretty light, and that could have happened anywhere. And you wouldn't necessarily think, oh, that pan has been damaged. On the other hand, something like this, that looks damaged. It really looks like there's definite big dents here, and on the back you can see. So all of those extreme tests of durability where we're heating it, we're plunging it in ice water, we're whacking it on a concrete block, that is really going to tell us about how well constructed these are and what they're going to be able to endure in the long run in your kitchen.
Okay, so for the full results, people can head to the ATK app with reviews of all of the models we tested, our full methodology, all that great stuff. But today, we are here with our 3 top-rated models.
That's right. We actually have co-winners from All-Clad, a 10-piece set, and from Made In, another 10-piece set. And we have a Best Buy. An 8-piece set from Goldilocks is our Best Buy.
Okay, so these ones are the more expensive top-of-the-line options, right?
That's right.
Okay, because I got a similar All-Clad set for my wedding 13 years ago, and I have to say it looks brand new, and I've used it for all those 13 years. This is restaurant performance gear right here.
Yes, it is, and so is the Made In. Actually, that's one of the things that these sets have in common. They're super well constructed. Both of these sets performed beautifully, aced all our tests, and really the difference is a little bit of detail about the handles with the All-Clad. They're not as comfy, but they don't rotate in your hands dangerously. They stay anchored. Both of them have fully stainless steel handles, which means that on the stovetop at least, they will not heat up while you're cooking. So you can grab these without pot holders. You're not going to keep scorching yourself. And they have a nice array of pieces. They both have 8-quart stock pots. They have, this one has a saucier and a 4-quart saucepan, which is amazing. That's our favorite size of saucepan. We like a large saucepan with a lid and a helper handle, 4-quart. And then they have a smaller saucepan, a couple of skillets, 8 and 10 inches. Same there with All-Clad, 8 and 10 inches. They have a saute pan, which is a really nice pan to have. It has a cover, it's a deeper profile, holds liquidy things. And then 2 saucepans that are in great sizes. I kind of love that little 1-quart. It's tall.
We were just talking about how we both love a little 1-quart stock pot. We have reviewed each of these categories individually, right?
Right.
Different size fry pans, different size everything.
Right.
And these were closest to the winners in those individual categories.
For the most part, yes. Honestly, a lot of those All-Clad pieces are some of our favorites in their category.
So winning lightweight Dutch oven.
That's right. And then we have our saute pan is actually recommended. Those are recommended, highly recommended frying pans. But there are a few differences from our winners in some categories. For instance, Our favorite is a 4-quart saucepan. They only have it in this made-in. This is a 3. So although All-Clad's 4-quart is our winner, they didn't put one in this set. Although we love a 12-inch skillet, neither of these sets have a 12-inch. They have 8 and 10. So you may want to add that on if you have these sets. So while you're thinking, oh, these are very complete sets, there's always something that, you know, you may want to add on.
That tended to be the way with sets, right? Like
Right.
sizes trend a little smaller than ideal as potentially a way to cut costs. Less
Right.
metal, lower costs.
Most of our recipes, unless they're designated otherwise, are designated for 4 to 6 servings, which is a little bit of a squeeze in a 10-inch pan. So it's nice to have a 12-inch skillet somewhere.
You gotta have that room for browning too.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want to overcrowd things. It's nice to be able to spread out a little bit. So let's talk about price.
The All-Clad 10-piece set, it is about $700 for the 10 pieces. The made-in for the 10 pieces, about $800. So it's a little more expensive.
For
Yes.
the newcomer. Ooh.
Yeah, and honestly, if you add up each piece bought a la carte, the All-Clad represents a 29% savings. This was 16% savings for made-in.
This underscores the real question with these, right? So cookware sets are a good deal only if you need a full set and you want the exact pieces they come with.
Right.
Otherwise, we recommend shopping a la carte for what you really need, right?
A whole set of pans that someone else picked out for you is not necessarily the best set of pans for you.
But they're worth it in some scenarios.
Right.
What, like if you want to replace everything.
And that's why they make great gifts. I think, you know, if you really want to start over, and then you can also add on specific pans. But again, the caveat, if you get pans you don't need, they're not a bargain. And speaking of which, if you are in the market for a full set and you want to save a little money, we have a Best Buy. This was around $300.
Oh, okay, so it's a huge difference.
Yes, and it's also fully clad, well constructed, really beautiful pieces. In fact, closer to our ideal sizes. So we got the full 8-quart stock pot, which we have with those two. We have a 3 and a 1.5-quart saucepan. These are decent, it's pretty close. It's not quite 4, but nice. And then we have a 10 and 12-inch skillet. Yay!
This lady loves a 12-inch skillet.
I do. You can always cook less in a big pan, but you try to cook too much
It's
in
true.
a small pan.
You can do one egg in a 12-inch skillet, right?
So the Goldilocks set may be a slight bit less durable, but it is a beautiful set, it's well made, and it's a real bargain.
So now that you've seen this video, would you buy a cookware set or would you stick to buying your pans one by one? Have you found a set you love? Tell us about it in the comments.
For more information about all the gear we talked about today, check out the links below or head to the ATK app.
Be sure to like this video and subscribe so you never miss an episode.
We'll see you next time on Gearheads.